Hello, I'm Tracey.
And I'm Travis.
We're two Americans who just moved with our miniature husky, Tabasco, from our home in Texas to the city of Leiden, the Netherlands. We're not quite sure what the future holds for us, but we're excited to share our journey with you.
Hello everyone. Today it is a beautiful day in Leiden. We're actually taking a bit of a morning walk, and while we walk Tabasco today, so you'll get to see a little bit of him, we're going to talk to you about 5 things that we miss about the United States. And
5 things we definitely do not.
And these will be outside of our family and our friends, because we definitely miss them.
So much.
And we try and talk to them as much as we can. But we also wanted to talk about things that everyone can understand that we miss and don't miss about the United States.
And maybe some things you don't understand.
But thank you for coming along with us today. And if you do have a moment, please give us a subscribe. It really helps. We're really trying to work towards a goal there. But thank you all. And let's get into the list. Tracy and I have talked about this one quite a bit. And the first thing that I definitely don't miss is going to be having a car.
Yes, and everything that goes along with that.
We were spending about $1,200 US on cars between insurance, car payments, gas, all of the different things that are involved with owning a car and driving it regularly to and from work.
Not to mention, Houston, where we lived before, has some incredibly dangerous roadways.
Mm-hmm.
I think 45 is rated one of the most dangerous in the United States, so a little nerve-wracking driving on that.
And that was a road I took every day to go to work. I would drive for a half hour to go to work, and it was very, very stressful. And then we were lucky enough to have a garage to be able to park our car, but we both lived in places where sometimes finding parking was difficult.
And car break-ins were pretty common.
Yeah, the vehicle I had when I lived in an apartment in Houston, they got broken into 2 or 3 times. By the time I actually sold it off, they'd stole the radio out of it and all the different things like that. I have missed a car whenever we're buying a ton of groceries, but we get those delivered here, and so that makes that a lot easier.
Or we do more frequent grocery shops.
That's true as well, because we have a much smaller fridge. But with that, that does mean that we don't have the ability to transport stuff, so we can't go buy a thing from IKEA and bring it home because we're going to have to take that on the train. But on the whole, I don't miss it at all. I don't miss the frequent having to look for things for a parking spot or go and try and find different things for the car. It's just so much easier.
I also don't miss the expenses associated with maintenance of the vehicle, oil changes, unexpected, check engine light things that come on. So definitely not missed at all.
One thing that we definitely miss about being in Houston is our home. We had an amazing house that was quite a bit bigger than here. And even though we didn't use a lot of the space, there were some places there that we just really loved.
We love to cook, and we love food, if you couldn't tell from our previous videos. So our kitchen was really built for entertaining, and we had obnoxious amounts of space that we filled up with lots of kitchen gadgets. And
we like to cook together, and we cooked in that kitchen a lot. We had a really nice bathroom with a tub, which I know that you very much miss.
Yeah.
And we just had some space to do, well, I like to do some projects, build some light fixtures and things like that. And it was really fun to be able to do that in that house. It wasn't in the best neighborhood, and it was just different. And we miss that sometimes.
Yeah, it was very sad to let it go. But, onward.
Got to be interesting people and do something very exciting. And something else we don't miss is the crime.
Yeah, it was getting really bad all over the United States, but particularly in larger cities. Here we realize it's not a utopia, but it's the crime levels seem to be quite a bit lower and more petty crime, like bike thefts, as opposed to murders.
Well, and kind of a little bit, the issue that we faced the most was really aggressive panhandling. We would go, when we were driving home, the intersection that we got off of 45 on, there was, 6 or 7 panhandlers that lived under the bridge.
Yep.
That would come and try and wash your windows when you were driving around very aggressively. If you didn't have the money or you tried to get around them, they would yell and scream at you. It was not fun.
Yeah, and road rage was becoming a huge problem when we left too.
Actually, we saw an incident of that where we were on West Road to get on 45, and we saw somebody get out of their car and start kicking the front of somebody else's car while we were waiting for the light to turn green.
Yeah, and that's just some of the smaller incidents. The second thing we miss is some of the culturally diverse foods that you can really only get in Houston.
Well, not just in Houston, but just not here. Houston is one of the most diverse cities in the United States, if not the most diverse city in the U.S. And so that means that we end up with a lot of different types of foods, from tons of Vietnamese to one of our favorites, which is Korean food. And it's just not as much of a thing here. There's some of that in The Hague.
Yeah, and I think because of that diversity in Houston, you get a lot of fusion cuisines too. For instance, one of our favorites is Cajun Vietnamese crawfish.
Yeah, Cajun Kitchen, a restaurant. We would go there probably twice a month during the season, if not more.
And drive 45 minutes to get this because it was that good.
And it was something that we just really looked forward to and really excited. And we would do with friends, and it was a lot of fun. But even past that, we had a lot of Tex-Mex in Houston. We had a lot of barbecue. There's a huge growing African population from all over Africa that brought in tons of really good food. And it was just really different and not stuff that we have here.
So that being said, if you know of anywhere that we can get Korean barbecue, good Tex-Mex, let us know in the comments and let us know what we're missing.
Absolutely. We're interested.
The third thing we do not miss about the United States,
specifically in Houston,
is the weather.
And the heat is part of it. You have days where it get up to 115 Fahrenheit, and
the minute you walk outside, you're dripping sweat, and you don't even bother putting makeup on because why bother? It's just going to melt off, and your hair poofs out to here.
I don't have either one of those problems, but
you don't get humidity in your beard?
Maybe a little. But with that, also the extreme weather is a lot different. We had a big flood a few years back.
Hurricane Harvey
happened, yeah. We had that bad winter storm that the state
past February.
The state wasn't ready for that at all, and it was just there's a lot of extreme weather. Tracy's used to a lot of snow being from upstate.
Yeah, I can handle the snow, but flooded roadways are a whole different ballgame and just terrifying.
Well, I remember right after Hurricane Harvey, we went to the grocery store, and you could quite literally see military helicopters flying over to try and go and rescue people or move things around. One of our good friends was actually volunteering at the convention center and said that they saw helicopters landing on the road to be able to drop off people that had rescued.
Yeah, just absolutely horrifying. Like, people would have to climb up to their roofs because their houses were flooded. Luckily, we were super fortunate that the water only got on our driveway, but some people were not as fortunate, and a lot of people lost their lives. So definitely don't miss the horrible flooding and the unbearable heat.
Extreme weathers.
Yeah.
the number 3 thing that we miss, and before the pandemic, before lockdown, before all of that, we would actually entertain quite a bit.
Yeah. As we mentioned before, we miss our kitchen because it was very much an entertaining kitchen. But whether it was having just our best friends over for smoking some barbecue or hosting a Christmas party with 20 people, we really miss that. And we don't have our friends here, and we've made some connections with the expat community here. But
some neighbors.
Yeah, which has been really nice, but we haven't had the chance to entertain. I really love feeding people and welcoming people into our home, so I definitely miss that.
Yeah, and hopefully we can make some of that happen soon. That'd be really nice.
Yeah, our table is certainly big enough for lots of people. So.
Absolutely.
All right, the 4th thing that we do not miss is the lack of work-life balance in the United States.
Or as
Tabasco agrees.
Or as what I'd like to call it, the overwork culture.
Yes.
You get many people who are working their jobs who brag about, oh, I had a 60-hour week last week, or I had so much time. I was up till 10:30 working on this. Stuff like that. And here, it's kind of expected that when you're done, you're done, and people don't expect you to respond until the next day.
Yeah, I remember plenty of nights where I was working in retail and I was checking my email at 10 o'clock at night.
Or when you were working in retail at the airport, and you would have to 6:30 a.m. Your store would open, and you would wake up even when you weren't opening to make sure that your store got open, because you would get in trouble if it didn't.
Yeah, and on the same hand, like, up until pretty recently, before we moved over here, you were taking phone calls at 8, 9 o'clock at night. And it's very difficult to unwind and relax and recharge to make sure you're fresh for the next day. So we definitely appreciate that about the Dutch culture quite a bit.
And when the weekend comes, you're not seeing people put in, 10 hours over the weekend. It's really, really refreshing, and it's made it possible for us to have some different hobbies, like doing this vlog, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. The 4th thing we miss about the United States is some of the cost of goods over there, particularly clothes and housewares. We're finding it to be a bit more expensive to get quality goods for a price.
Yeah, a lot of people that are actually expats, they talk about when they go back to the U.S. doing a lot of clothes shopping, doing a lot of things that you can get here but are just more expensive. In the U.S. you could get a decent pair of jeans for $25 US, and here a good pair of jeans is going to cost you in the 60 to 70 euro range just to start.
Yeah, and maybe we don't know where to look. So again, if you have any suggestions, we'd love to hear them in the comments. Particularly for housewares, we are renting a partially furnished home, but there's a few other essentials we need, and we know about IKEA and things like that, but we're definitely open to more options.
The last thing that we definitely don't miss is the disposable culture that's so prevalent in the U.S. Whenever we would get some food from a restaurant or things like that, they would always pack tons of cutlery in there, and we ended up where we had 10 or 15 different cutlery packs all in our drawer waiting for us to use them, and we had perfectly good things that we could use there.
Yeah, and I think one thing we've come to appreciate is the recycling and repurposing culture here in the Netherlands, which is really neat. It's not as prevalent in the United States, would you say?
Well, especially in Houston, where we were living, there was no recycling at all. If you wanted to recycle a cardboard box, you'd have to take it.
I remember we would load up your car and we would go to a school where they had a recycling center, and that's where we would dispose of our boxes and things.
And most of the time that was even full when we would go there, so you would have to stack them outside or do things like that, and it was a lot of recycling to bring in if people decided they wanted to do that.
Yeah, and I think along with that disposable culture, it feels over here in the Netherlands, it's less about brands and making sure you have the latest handbag or sneakers or anything like that.
Especially high heels with the with the cobblestone roads.
Yeah, so it's been very refreshing to be a little bit more casual and not feel like you need to keep up with the trends as much.
Well, even going past just that, think about the housing and where we lived and the areas pretty close to that. You'd have these houses that were perfectly nice and workable from the 50s and 60s and stuff, and people would tear them down to build these McMansions because the area was nice. So you'd have this beautiful little home that was, 1,500 square feet, perfectly livable, very happy, and then right next to it this mansion out of stucco that was just kind of obnoxious and didn't fit the real feel of the area.
Yeah, definitely.
The last one that I miss is really personal to me. My grandparents had a house that after they passed, my parents inherited, and it's out in the country quite a bit. It's about an hour outside of Houston, and it's this real peaceful place. It's been in the family for generations, and it's just some place that I feel I can recharge at.
It's the perfect place to completely unplug and connect with nature, which is really hard to do when you live in a huge metropolis like Houston. Mm-hmm. There's definitely some pockets of nature there, but we definitely cherish anytime we got to go up there.
Something we'd look forward to for a week or two before we'd go, and especially during the pandemic, it was someplace to go so we could look at something else other than our own backyard. And it's really wonderful, and I miss it a lot.
Yeah, we would plan these really extensive menus to cook in the kitchen up there and cozy up in front of the gorgeous fireplace, and just really appreciate the quiet and the stars.
Yeah, it was especially really nice to go because it's something that I thought that I didn't know Tracey would like as well, but she really loves it and enjoyed going up there. It's something that I definitely miss, and when we go back, it's going to be on the highest priorities to do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
That's our list. That's 5 things that we miss and 5 things we don't miss from living in the United States, specifically in the Houston area. But we hope you've enjoyed. We're going to actually pop in and have ourselves a nice little breakfast at a cafe.
Yes.
Not a coffee shop.
Not a coffee shop. We've made that mistake before.
Not in a while, definitely. But we want to thank you for coming along on this journey with us.
Yes, thank you so much for watching and continuing to support us. Please like and subscribe.
Leave us a comment. We try to reply to as many of them as we can.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much. We really, really appreciate your support.
And we expect a little bonus episode later this week.
Oh,
so
yeah.
So definitely tune in for that. We're targeting it for Wednesday, I believe.
Yeah, so just a little adventure we had that didn't quite have enough footage for a full video, but still really fun and something we want to share with you.
So thank you all. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.